In college, my roommate secretly stole my research and took full credit. When I confronted her, she said, "You're too quiet. No one even notices you. Why waste good ideas on a nobody?" Last week, she walked into an interview for a position at my tech firm. I was sitting on the other side of the table when I said, "You finally noticed me, didn't you? I never thought I'd be the one sitting in the big chair." Back in college, I was the quiet one, the kid in the corner of the computer lab who barely spoke unless someone asked for help. I kept my head down, did the work, and let others take the spotlight. People like Jessica. Jessica was my roommate junior and senior year at the University of Michigan. She was everything I wasn't: outgoing, loud, the type who could charm professors, classmates, and strangers at a bar without breaking a sweat. We were both majoring in computer science, but while she had the charisma, I had the grit. I stayed up late debugging code, working through algorithms, and poring over textbooks while she bounced from party to party, somehow managing to scrape by on charm in group projects. Our paths crossed the most during senior year, when we both took the advanced data structures class. That's where everything went to hell. I'd been working on a new compression algorithm for weeks. I didn't talk much about it, wasn't really my style, but I did tell Jessica a few things, mostly because she was my roommate and she'd ask, "What are you working on so late?" I even showed her my notes once when she said she was curious. I should have known better. There was a departmental competition that semester. The winner would get a stipend and a guaranteed internship at a top tech firm in California. It was huge. I planned to enter my algorithm, make a name for myself. Except I never got the chance. 2 days before the submission deadline, Jessica submitted a project that looked eerily familiar. It was my algorithm. I saw it during the class presentations. I sat there, jaw clenched, while she smiled and took credit for my work. My code, my logic, my solution, just slightly modified to look different. When she finished, she even threw in a little joke about how sometimes the best ideas come late at night when you're procrastinating. After the presentation, I cornered her outside the lecture hall. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely get the words out. "Why the hell did you submit my algorithm, Jessica?" She stared at me like I was crazy. Then she smirked. "You're too quiet. No one even notices you. Why waste good ideas on a nobody?" I reported her. I told the professor everything, showed him my notes, my drafts, even the timestamps in my files. But Jessica had already polished her presentation, rehearsed her pitch, and charmed the committee. They said it was a misunderstanding and left it at that. She won the competition. She got the internship. I got left behind, bitter and exhausted. I should have let it go. I tried to. But I never forgot. Fast forward 10 years. I'm the head of research at a mid-sized but growing tech firm in Seattle. I worked my ass off for this: long hours, endless projects, and constant pressure. The kind of pressure that makes you doubt yourself, wonder if it's all worth it. But I kept going, built a solid team, and finally got to a place where I had some real authority. Last week, we were hiring for a new senior developer position. The team sent me a short list of candidates to review, and there it was. Her name: Jessica Ramirez. Same confident smile in the attached photo, same bold bullet points in her resume. Except now she had 10 years of industry experience and a list of projects that sounded suspiciously like things I'd worked on. I stared at that name for a long time. On the day of the interview, I sat across the table from her. My team was there, 3 other department leads, HR, and me at the head. Jessica walked in like she owned the place, wearing a tailored suit and a fake smile. She scanned the room, not recognizing me at first. That was fine. I let her talk. I let her pitch herself, her achievements, her ideas for innovation, some of which sounded like she'd pulled them straight from my old research papers. Finally, it was my turn. I leaned forward, looked her dead in the eye, and said, "You finally made it here, Jessica. Her eyes narrowed, a flicker of recognition crossing her face. I watched the color drain from her cheeks. For a second, I swear, her hands actually shook. "I'm sorry, do we know each other?" she asked, voice tight. I kept my voice calm. "We do. University of Michigan. Advanced Data Structures. Remember the compression algorithm?" Silence. Just her, blinking, trying to figure out what to say. I could see the gears turning, trying to spin a story, to weasel out of it. The same old Jessica. I didn't give her the chance. I turned to the rest of the panel and said, "This is the candidate who took full credit for a project I developed in college. It was never hers. She presented it as her own, and it earned her a competition win and an internship." Jessica's mouth opened, but nothing came out. She tried to interrupt, but I kept going. "I don't care about the past," I said, "but integrity matters here. If someone built their career on taking credit for others' work, that's a red flag we can't ignore." My team sat in stunned silence. Jessica tried to salvage the moment, but it was too late. The room had turned cold. We cut the interview short. But the story didn't end there. A few days later, I got an email from HR. Jessica had filed a complaint against me, accusing me of bias, of holding a personal grudge, of creating a hostile interview environment. I was floored. This woman had stolen my work, tried to worm her way into my company, and now she was accusing me of being unprofessional? HR said they had to investigate, that it was standard procedure. I had to sit through meetings, explain everything again, even show them old records from college, emails, drafts of my code, anything I could dig up to prove I wasn't making this up. It was humiliating. I kept it together, but I could feel the old anger bubbling up. The betrayal. The years of hard work while she waltzed through life, taking shortcuts, charming her way ahead. I wasn't going to let her win this time. The investigation dragged on for weeks. I kept my head down at work, but the tension was suffocating. I'd walk into meetings and feel eyes on me, whispers just under the surface. Some of the newer team members didn't know the whole story, and HR wasn't exactly transparent. They just said there was an ongoing issue regarding an interview candidate. Jessica, meanwhile, was playing the victim. I heard through the grapevine she was claiming I had a personal vendetta against her, that I was threatened by her experience and accomplishments. She even reached out to a few of the executives on LinkedIn, telling them how unfairly she'd been treated. That's when I realized she wasn't just trying to land a job, she was trying to take me down. One day, I got called into a meeting with HR and the COO. I walked in and saw Jessica sitting there. She had a smug look on her face, like she thought she was winning. HR started with their usual corporate speak. "We're here to discuss the situation regarding the interview process, and Jessica has raised some concerns." Jessica jumped in. "I'm just really disappointed. I was so excited about the opportunity here, but I felt attacked and singled out. It's been really hard for me, emotionally." She even wiped away a fake tear. I could feel my blood boiling. Then she dropped the bomb. "I also want to bring up that I believe some of my previous work has been used by this company without proper credit. I noticed certain features in your software that resemble projects I worked on years ago." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She was flipping the whole thing on me, on us. Trying to make it seem like I had stolen her work. The audacity of it was almost laughable, except it wasn't funny. It was dangerous. If she could convince them that her claims were legitimate, my career could be at risk. I took a breath and leaned forward, keeping my voice steady. "Jessica, are you seriously accusing me of stealing your work? After what you did to me in college?" She smiled, tilting her head like a snake about to strike. "I don't know what you're talking about. That was years ago, and there's no proof. But I do have documentation of my past projects, and I think your company would be interested in reviewing them." The room was silent. The COO glanced at me, eyes narrowed, waiting for my response. I knew I had to act fast. That night, I stayed late at the office, digging through old files, emails, anything that could help me. I found copies of the original algorithm I wrote in college, complete with timestamps, notes, even some rough sketches I had scanned for a project draft. I printed it all out, organized it into a folder, and sent it to HR first thing in the morning. But I didn't stop there. I had an idea. I reached out to an old professor from Michigan, the one who ran the advanced data structures class. By some miracle, he remembered me, and he definitely remembered Jessica. When I told him what was happening, he was shocked but not surprised. He said he had suspicions back then but never had enough to act on. He agreed to write a letter, stating that he'd witnessed irregularities in Jessica's work and remembered the complaints I made. I sent that letter to HR too. The next week was chaos. Jessica kept pushing her narrative, but the evidence was stacking up against her. HR finally called her in for a follow-up meeting. I wasn't invited, but I heard later that she got cornered on inconsistencies in her story. Apparently, she'd claimed to have worked on projects that predated her employment at other companies, things that were publicly archived and dated after she left those jobs. She'd been lying about her whole resume, not just her college work. Then came the final twist. One of my team members, a quiet guy named Mike who usually kept to himself, approached me. He said he'd recognized some of the code Jessica described in her interview as his own. She'd plagiarized him, too. And not just him. After a few quiet conversations, it turned out Jessica had a pattern. She'd been doing this for years, jumping from company to company, taking credit for others' work, spinning stories, and leaving a trail of burned bridges. It all came crashing down. HR and the legal team started digging deeper. They found discrepancies in her LinkedIn, her references, even her degree. Turns out she'd graduated a semester early, but never officially completed her degree. She'd faked the documentation. When the COO heard that, the hammer finally dropped. Jessica was blacklisted, not just from our company, but word spread fast in the tech community. People started pulling back offers, rescinding interviews, even posting warnings on industry forums. But Jessica wasn't done. Not yet. A week later, I got an email from her. Just a few words, "You think you've won, but I'm not finished." No signature. Just that. And I'll be honest, I didn't know what she meant. But it left me looking over my shoulder. Because someone like Jessica? They don't give up. They don't disappear quietly. I didn't sleep the night I got that email from Jessica. I just sat there, staring at the screen, reading those words over and over. You think you've won, but I'm not finished. I knew it wasn't an empty threat. That wasn't Jessica's style. She was a snake, the kind that waits for the right moment to strike again. I started double-checking everything at work. My files, my emails, even the projects my team was working on. I didn't know where the next hit would come from, but I knew it was coming. A few days later, it did. I got a call from our head of IT. Someone had flagged suspicious activity on the company's internal systems, files being accessed that shouldn't have been touched, code repositories opened in the middle of the night. They traced the activity back to an external IP address, but whoever it was had been smart. Hiding behind VPNs, masking their identity. Still, one thing stood out: the files being accessed were mine. My projects. My algorithms. My designs. Jessica was trying to steal from me again. I called an emergency meeting with the security team. We locked down everything, changed passwords, restricted access, and set up monitoring on all sensitive files. I stayed late every night, watching the logs like a hawk. My team started asking questions, whispering in the hallways, wondering what the hell was going on. I didn't tell them everything, but they could tell I was tense. And I was tense, because Jessica was out there, somewhere, and I had no idea how far she'd go. Then, one morning, it hit me like a punch to the gut. I walked into the office, and the receptionist handed me a thick envelope. No return address, just my name written in sharp, blocky letters. Inside were screenshots, dozens of them. Screenshots of internal emails, code snippets, design documents. And not just mine, some of them were from other departments, too. There was a sticky note attached to the front, looks like you've got a leak. Better fix it before someone else does. No signature. No sender. But I knew who it was. I sat down hard in my chair, the weight of it hitting me all at once. Jessica wasn't just after me, she was coming for the whole company. And if she managed to leak this stuff, we could be looking at lawsuits, lost contracts, a total PR nightmare. She wasn't just playing games anymore. She was out for blood. I took the envelope straight to the COO and the legal team. We launched a full-blown investigation. Security traced the breach to a former employee, a junior dev named Kyle, who'd been fired months earlier for performance issues. Turns out, Jessica had connected with him on LinkedIn after her interview. We dug deeper and found out she'd been feeding him scripts, instructions, even small payments through Venmo to access our systems. It was all there, Jessica's fingerprints, all over it. We reported it to the authorities. Kyle was arrested for cyber intrusion, and Jessica? She was named in the investigation. The FBI got involved, because this wasn't just a petty grudge anymore. It was corporate espionage. But Jessica wasn't going down quietly. She'd lawyered up. And her lawyers were ruthless. They started attacking me personally, digging into my background, trying to paint me as unstable, vindictive, a toxic leader. They demanded to see my performance reviews, my emails, even personal messages I'd sent to friends at work. HR had to bring me in for interviews, asking questions like, "Did you ever threaten Jessica?" Or, "Were you ever inappropriate in your communication?" It felt like a nightmare. Every day I came to work, there was a new fire to put out, a new accusation to answer. My team started to lose trust in me. Morale dropped. Projects stalled. I could feel the walls closing in. And then, just when I thought it couldn't get worse, I got a notice at home. Jessica was suing me for defamation and emotional distress. She was claiming I'd spread malicious lies about her, cost her job opportunities, and ruined her professional reputation. I sat on my couch that night, the letter in my hands, shaking. I couldn't believe it. After everything she'd done, she was still coming after me. I looked around my apartment, dark, quiet, empty, and I felt that old, familiar feeling from college, small, invisible, trapped. But then something clicked. I wasn't that kid anymore. I wasn't the quiet roommate in the corner, too afraid to fight back. I was the head of R&D at a major tech firm. I had a team. I had resources. And I wasn't going to let Jessica destroy everything I'd built. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. After I got that lawsuit notice, I'll be honest, I was on the verge of snapping. I sat in my apartment, holding that paper, and for a moment, I thought, maybe she's going to win. Maybe all this will just crush me. But then I remembered something. A year back, I'd started backing up everything. Not just files, not just code, everything. Every email, every message, every change log, every git commit, even voice memos to myself. It wasn't just paranoia, it was survival. I'd been burned before, and I wasn't going to get caught off guard again. I pulled up the archives and spent 2 straight days combing through everything. And there it was, clear, undeniable proof. Multiple drafts of my original algorithm from college, timestamped, with metadata, stored on cloud drives before Jessica's presentation. Plus, emails from that same semester where I'd mentioned the project to my professor and a couple classmates, even a voice memo where I talked through the logic late at night. And then there was the big one, a screenshot of the Slack message Jessica sent to Kyle, the junior dev she'd recruited to hack into our system. It was explicit, instructions, file names, even a payment agreement. He hadn't deleted it, he'd saved it in his downloads folder, probably planning to cover his ass later. The FBI had it now, but I still had my own copy. I handed all of it over to the company's legal team and the authorities. And then I took it a step further. I sent an email directly to the CEO, someone who didn't usually get involved at my level. I laid it all out, the history, the theft in college, the attempted breach, the lawsuit. Everything. I told him I wasn't going to roll over. I told him if the company didn't take action, I would. I'd go public, blow the whole thing wide open. Jessica wasn't just a problem for me, she was a threat to the company, to everyone's jobs, to our reputation. The CEO called me that same night. He was furious, not at me, but at the mess. He promised they'd back me up, and they did. Full legal support. PR on standby. The whole company rallied. Then the FBI got involved in full force. Turns out Jessica had multiple cases pending. Lawsuits from other companies, accusations of intellectual property theft, even a pending charge for falsifying academic records. Her degree from Michigan? Fake. The companies she claimed to have worked for? At least 2 were completely fabricated. She'd been conning her way through the industry for years. And when the FBI raided her apartment, they found hard drives, stacks of them, full of stolen code, company files, and a spreadsheet labeled future targets. My company was just one on a long list. That was it. Jessica was arrested on charges of wire fraud, corporate espionage, and obstruction of justice. She's facing a long list of federal charges, and from what I hear, she's looking at serious prison time. The lawsuit she filed against me? Dropped. The judge dismissed it with prejudice, saying it was baseless and abusive. But there was one last twist. Remember how I said I wasn't perfect? Yeah, turns out HR had quietly flagged me for communication concerns during the whole mess. They said my tone in the interview was aggressive, that my personal conflict with Jessica had created a perception of bias. It didn't matter that I was right. It didn't matter that I had the proof. In the corporate world, perception is everything. I got a formal warning. It's sitting in my HR file right now, like a scar that'll never heal. No promotion this cycle. No bonus. Just a cold reminder that even when you're in the right, you don't get to win clean. But I'm still here. Still running the department. Still the one they call when shit hits the fan. My team knows the truth, and they've got my back. As for Jessica? The last I heard, she's in a federal holding facility waiting for trial. Her LinkedIn is gone. Her name's been blacklisted in the tech industry. And those bridges she burned? Turned into a pile of ash. And you know what? I don't feel sorry for her. Not one damn bit. She tried to build her whole life on lies, on other people's work. And in the end, it all came crashing down. That's the thing about people like Jessica. They think they're smarter than everyone else, that they can twist the truth, manipulate, steal, and walk away clean. But the world catches up. Karma catches up. And when it does? It's brutal. She told me once that no one would ever notice me. Well, Jessica, they noticed. They noticed everything.